Morning, everybody. Live here with Fractal Effects. Please make sure you read the disclosure. If you're following along today, make sure you're doing a demo account. This is educational purposes only. We are not financial advisors, and this is not financial advice. Please make sure you check us out on fractaleffects.com, where we teach algorithmic trading. Today we'll be looking at NAS and ES. Now let's jump onto the charts. Actually, let's switch these. Now it's on the left. 5 minute. So we got a bit of a nesting model today. That's Asia session. We have London inside Asia. We have a downside confirmation, retracement. We had a push during London. Back to these main key fair value gaps that have been already painted out by the indicator. Right into the EMAs. Right now we are just floating. Wait for confirmation. We have a bit of a mixed bias today. On a higher time frame, we're actually aiming for some liquidity on the downside. We do have a slightly bearish sentiment today. That's why we're going to wait for confirmation. 10:30 already. Let's see if we can't get a quick confirmation to let us know if this thing wants to push up or down. Usually when we have a nesting model, what the market likes to do is take out both sides, at least retrace back to midpoint here. But since the New York range formed below London, gives even more evidence that this thing might want to push down. We take London high, to New York low. We're sitting right at that golden zone. And again, it's bouncing off of Asia's fair value gap. There's London's fair value gap. We're also bouncing off the 50. That's why we're kind of stuck between two PD arrays. It's projecting off the 50 and the 20. We do not have a full crossover yet. So most likely we'll try to take out the high. That was formed at 4:30 during London, and then possibly push down. I might even want to take out London high completely. This is the previous high. We have not yet taken it out. So although we do have a slightly bearish sentiment, we are bouncing off of some higher time frame PD arrays. Just waiting for confirmation. Literally wicking from both sides, the 50, and then Asia's fair value gap. But again, most likely we will push through, take out this high, and then we'll see if we get a confirmation. This thing wants to continue up, or if it rejects, then we see it plummet. Looks like we're close to a confirmation here. Still no confirmation. Still just bouncing in the fair value gap. Slowly getting confirmation now. Four minutes left in this candle. Let's see if it sticks. Five-minute time frame. Two minutes, 58 seconds left. On the other side of that fair value gap now, we'll most likely get confirmation. We're also in that golden zone. This is why we might get confirmation and retracement. Then once we get a retracement, we want it to be obvious that this thing actually wants to push up and not just push back down from the golden zone. And keep in mind, this is an algorithm, very elegant algorithm. That's why they create situations like this to confuse you. You're stuck between two big PD arrays. Got the fair value gap there, golden zone, everything that lets you know that this thing wants to push down. Then we might get, a little under 2 minutes, a bullish confirmation, a retracement, and then a push up. They want it to look 50-50. We don't trade 50-50. We're probability traders. Nothing under 70%. .54 seconds left. Let's see if we get a confirmation. Both of them driving up. Yes on the right, no's on the left. Okay, so we got our confirmation. Now we want to see it bounce off of some key levels to let us know this thing wants to go up and push past this golden zone. Remember, where most traders fail is getting FOMO, thinking that they have to trade every single day. It's not how this works. We're literally dedicating an hour and a half of our day to potentially jump in and get 1 to 3 risk to reward. As mentioned before at the beginning, all you really got to do is aim for 1 successful trade a week at that risk to reward of 1 to 3, and you're sitting at 12% for the month. That's why we're willing to wait for the perfect opportunity, perfect situation. If the market leaves without us, then it leaves without us. Right now we have a confirmation. Now we need to see a retracement. As mentioned before, it's sitting between 2 very important points right now. It could go either way. Just because we got a bullish confirmation does not mean that this thing is going to go all the way. We have to wait for a pullback, a proper entry, and then a proper 1 to 3 risk to reward. You want to make sure there's room to grow. So far, it's now tapped into London's fair value gap. And it's almost at 100%. There you go. It just took out London's high. Both of these running neck to neck. It's drawing back up to Sunday's open. And there's certain key levels that you should be marking out on your charts. All of these levels are shown to you on the back end of the Learning Hub of fractaleffects.com. Our goal is to make you a proficient trader as quickly as possible. That's why on the back end we don't have 1,000 videos. It's not convoluted, not 50 to 100 different strategies and different indicators. One indicator, one strategy. And then we have the rest of the material is for confluence purposes only, and the educational portion of it is no longer than 2 hours. You can watch it on a weekend, start trading in a demo account, do that for a month, follow along with us, become proficient. And then when you feel up to it and you see the probabilities in your favor, you match that up with the dashboard on the back end with the aggregate, which we will go over. Right now, I just want people to get familiar with the indicator and the overall strategy. Trying to make this as easy as possible for people. Paint by numbers. All of the key zones. So right now we have a confirmation, bullish confirmation. We've taken out London high, so we can get rid of that fib. Now this fib is just to kind of help us figure out exactly where we are. We're above 50%. So we'd like to see it come down. It doesn't have to come all the way below 50. We'd like to see a retracement happening. Remember, we're bouncing off of Sunday's open, which isn't painted out on this chart, but we show you how to paint that out, along with 4 other key zones. The rest of it is painted out by the indicator. We have the top of the range. We now have all of these fair value gaps that become inverse fair value gaps. They still have importance. Price can still bounce off of them, the consequence encroachment of the other side of it. Again, I'd like to see it retrace back into the range first, get closer to the EMAs, and look obvious. I want this to look obvious. On the high end, as far as what we could be aiming for, our first zone of interest would be 18,273. 18,273. Again, retracement, gesticulation, extension. You want to see at least 3 5-minute candles bouncing off of one of these important lines. Closing in on 11 o'clock Eastern Standard. Remember, if you're not in trade within the first hour of the range formation, which is no later than 11:30, you're done for the day. If you are, you watch it, and hopefully you're out of it by no later than noon Eastern Standard Time. That's the goal. Our goal is not to be staring at charts all day long. One and a half hours to potentially make that 1 to 3 risk to reward. And that's it, just once a week. You get that on a Monday, you can check out. If you want to continue along, you drop that lot size. You make sure that you see the perfect opportunity. And that's step 2. Once you find yourself getting that one successful trade a week and you're making 12%, then what you want to do is you can always continue to follow along every single day. Watch the market for that same hour and a half. And if it looks obvious, blatantly obvious, you jump in with a lower lot size. Now you're slowly increasing it, not by 12% a month. Now you're potentially doing 15, 17. That's how you get comfortable with this. But at the beginning, just one trade a week, and then use the rest of the week to study. So we're getting some retracement now. Slowly back to London's fair value gap, which is a very important area. That's our first target. Again, we want to see some gesticulation happening. Might even, we have not set, remember, we wait for a low to be set. Like that's why we wait for 3 candles to reject off of a specific PD array. That way we at least know where our low is, where to set our stop loss. Because right now the closest low is this one still. That does not make any sense. That's a 0.81, not even a 1 risk to reward. Complete waste of time. Right now, everything that's happening is happening within this candle. There is no low yet. This is the high. These candles are just forming within this one. They're not separate from this until they break out from the top or the bottom of this candle. I'm hoping to see it retrace back at least close to 18, 109, 105. So hopefully around here. Oops, sorry, 109, 105 right here. Back into the top of our zone. Or this is the dealing range. It's been painted out for you. It's green. We already have a bullish bias. We have a bullish confirmation. We are above the 238, the orange line, 238 EMA. We're above the 50, the 20. We already have a crossover. What will most likely happen is a retracement back to these EMAs. And then again, we want to see candles wicking 3 at least to let us know this thing wants to push up. If it leaves without us early, that's fine. This is not a good zone as I just painted out for you guys. It's got to make sense. Just be patient. Wait for the market to come to you. We're at 11 o'clock. Patiently waiting. Now somebody could be like, well, that looks like 3 candles rejecting. 1, 2, 3. And again, it's too outside the range for me. Remember, this thing has been driving up since 6:45. We've had one small retracement. I want to see a proper retracement back into, at the very least, top of our range and to one of the EMAs. That's the only way I'll be interested. If it leaves without us, it leaves without us. We'll check in tomorrow. Remember, our goal is to make you proficient. Just because we're live Tuesday, Wednesdays, and Thursdays, we want to make you proficient where you're trading whenever you feel like it. Monday, Friday. Yesterday, we'll go over yesterday. At the end of this session, there was actually a perfect setup. Somebody could have got their 1 to 3 yesterday and be done. Keep in mind, there's also fake pushes that happen too, that make people want to jump in, but that's why we wait for an actual decent level to be reached. Now I'm going to go over, continue to watch NAS here. I'm going to go over yesterday for NAS. Again, London session would have been clean. If anybody's up, if anybody's in the right time zone, we got confirmation at 4:05. We had a nice retracement and an extension going right into New York. Now, the whole point of this range formation is once one side is broken, during that session, there's a 75–80% chance that the other side will not be broken. Perfect example here. We had a confirmation, we had a retracement, we had a bit of an extension, didn't take out the top, but it also did not break the bottom for the entire session. So as we wait for a retracement on the left-hand side, I'm just going to go over sorry, 1 second. Okay, so this is yesterday's New York. We had a bullish confirmation. And this is what I mean when I say I wait for the right setup. Now some people might have saw this and taken it. They would have gotten a good extension. Retrace back deeper, 50% with a full extension close to the end of the session. But again, obviously bigger push here than here. This happened obviously later in the day. Somebody could have jumped in here, seeing the correct gesticulation happening, but again, it retraced back into the range, and it gave us some good indication. It touched the red EMA below the actual line. Right now we're floating above the line. We have London's fair value gap, sure, but Just not interested. Not until it retraces back to at least top range EMAs. And then here's New York's fair value gap, which has also got touched at 7 o'clock. Remember, you want to be watching the market on all different time frames. Right now, in the 1 minute, there's no fair value gaps created within this. It's just consolidating. Again, if it leaves without us, we end up hitting a TP before actually finding a clean entry. Maybe we'll conclude the session. Hopefully that doesn't happen. Hopefully we get a good entry. As simple as that. Again, just patience. If you don't get it, we don't get it. We didn't really waste any time. 1 hour. Again, on the 1 minute, just a lot of consolidation. No fair value gaps being created in this. Wondering what I'm talking about? Again, this is more of an advanced concept. Here's the 1 minute. Now our indicator also paints out where the fair value gaps are. But now as soon as the low started, this is now officially the low of this move. It has not created a fair value gap. What happens, it likes to create what's called an intermediate low. And then that creates a fair value gap. It dips into the fair value gap and pushes up. Right now there's no fair value gap here on the 1 minute. Even though it's bouncing off the 20 EMA, it's not good enough for us. If I saw literally fair value gaps being created, that would at least be an indication that this thing wants to push up from here. Let's go back to the 5. This could be the retracement we're waiting for. Go back to US. Okay, slowly pushing down now. Think about that. For all the people that got in here, that would have been, it would have taken out their stop losses right here. Okay, this is what we were waiting for. A little over 11 o'clock right now, Eastern Standard. Let's see if we can't get a decent retracement. Back to the EMA, back to the top of the range right here. Today's Tuesday, so it's painting out the new weekly range right there with the aqua line. That happens every week. If we bring this down, we can actually see last week's weekly range right up there to the top left. So that stops, the second Tuesday session starts, and we get a new range for the next week. Remember, every single day has a footprint. On Thursdays, we usually retrace back into Tuesday's range. On Tuesdays, we usually set the low for the week if this is a bullish market, and we usually set the high for the week if it's a bearish market. So far today, we have not yet taken out previous day's high or low, but we are close to the high, which is another indication that this market might want to push down for the remaining week. But we'll see. Slowly coming down. And we're live Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays. Make sure you hit that notification. Make sure you're subscribed so you get the alert straight to your phone to let you know when we're streaming. Our goal is to make you a successful trader, a high probability trader. As mentioned before, this has to look obvious. Now we're below that fair value gap, bouncing off the consequence encroachment of it to the downside. What I said before, the market hates straight lines. So we will most likely break this and tap this, but we want to get a good entry. Here we go, we're slowly getting to the top of the range, and we're about to hit the 20 EMA. Now we want to see what happens here. We're hitting a lot of key zones right now. We're hitting the top range, we're hitting the 20 EMA, we're hitting this fair value gap. And on a higher time frame, which you can't see right now, here's the 15-minute. We're also hitting a 15-minute fair value gap. This would be a good area for the entry. But again, we want to drop down. We want to make sure we have all the right confluence. Ideally, we'd like this. We want to wait for this candle close, 1 minute, 50 seconds. We'd like this candle to show us some signs that it is the bottom, allowing us to set our stop loss there. It's also tapping into this fair value gap right here on the 5-minute. Let's see if this is the low, if this next one wants to tap in even lower. Maybe hit that fair value gap before going up. Remember the 1 minute, no fair value gaps created yet. That's the low, no fair value gaps yet. That's the top of the range. So this candle might take a deeper swipe. Second rejection. Got 1 minute 54 seconds left. This is our fair value gap, most likely, being created. "55 seconds left. We want this fair value gap to stick. If it does, then this retracement, we'd like to see it. Let's see, no, it's taken out our fair value gap. Again, we just wait patiently. Still a good sign. We're still getting our second candle wicking from here. Now I just want to see a proper entry. With this being our low, I want to see a fair value gap being formed. It's already using this fair value gap as well on the 1 minute, but we want to see it create its own fair value gap here. It's bouncing off the 50, which is a good sign. Third candle open. This is most likely going to be a telling candle. Let's see what this one wants to do. On the 5, we have actually yet to hit the 20 EMA, and we have yet to hit the actual top of our range, the aqua line. Just drifting. So this one might want to sweep, set it up, but we just patiently wait now. And if this is our entry again, targets are that green line. Just forecasting right now. $5.25. This would probably be a good entry, actually. Again, if you do so, make sure you're in a demo account. You might still want to take one more swipe at this fair value gap at the top of our range, but it's bouncing off this fair value gap right here on the 1 minute. It has not formed one yet, which is what we were waiting to see. That's why they might still swipe one more time, but This is still a good zone to be looking at right now for entry. We're slowly closing above that 50. Remember, the indicator is painting out fair value gaps for you. We want to see one being formed to the right of this line right here. A bullish fair value gap, I should say. Third candle formation. 1 minute 34 seconds left. This might be the candle that taps the zone. There we go. We've hit the top of the range. We've hit the 20 EMA. And we've hit London's fair value gap. I want to see a rejection of this candle now. Okay, it wants to do a deeper retracement to the 50. Now we actually have breakaway gaps to the downside. Which means there might be a deeper retracement. Bouncing off the 238. Let's see if it pushes through. If it bounces off this on the 1 minute. So keep in mind it was no news today. Usually on days where there's no news, there's a lot of manipulation happening. They use news days as smokescreens to reprice the market, but they use days where there's no news whatsoever to kind of create some chaotic patterns. Ideally, we want to see this push back in, up over this fair value gap, and push past the top of this to let us know this thing wants to push up. Otherwise, it's pushing right into a fair value gap. We want to see it disrespect this fair value gap and push up. bouncing off the 50. See what I mean? They try to give you a false entry, false entry. Ideally, we want to see this now push. Now this is the fair value gap we're waiting for, the bullish fair value gap. We got the low, fair value gap, 13 seconds, and this will be set, and then I'd like to see it duck into this and just push up. Now it's pushing down. We got two fair value gaps overlapping. Didn't quite come into our range yet. So let me paint this a little better. Sorry about that. Some of these features slow down when you're doing live streaming. There you go. That's what we were waiting for. We want to see this candle reject now. So that was obviously the better entry. Our goal is now again still the same. Take profit up here at the green line. Take out these equal relative highs. It's going to mostly use this fair value gap as a smokescreen. Our goal is to push past all of this. It's the most highest probability. Regardless of what happens here, probabilities were high. We're at 11:30. We're going to see this at least. Follow it along. Watch it take out the top here. And once we see it do that, we'll most likely conclude the session with that being a TP and stop losses down here. Coming back to that same fair value gap. We have a fair value gap here, 1 minute fair value gap from London. On the 5 minute, we're still bouncing off the 20 EMA. We're bouncing off the top of the range. We're bouncing off the fair value gap still, high probability. Excuse me. Still going for this. And again, as soon as we sweep this, we will most likely conclude the session with a target of 18273 on NAS. Excuse me. Sure, we're going to get some gesticulation here. Trying to get buy sell orders on both sides. People going in short. People going short off of this fair value gap here. Trend line on the 1 minute. Bouncing off the 50 and the 20 EMA on the lower time frame. Now we're getting that same rejection to the top side of that same fair value gap. Just increasing our probabilities, actually. Ideally, we want to see this push through now. Back at that fair value gap. Ten seconds left in this candle. Close on the 1 minute. On the 5 minute, we have 3 minutes left. Still high probability. Nothing's changed. We just want to see it hit that white line so we can conclude the session for today. Still just waiting. So we're at 1150. Getting ready to cross that white line. Take out the relative equal highs to the left. And then that's where we will conclude the session. You should be moving your stop losses to break even. Taking some off the table. And then heading for that green line. Only 10 minutes away from noon anyways. As mentioned before, if you're in a trade, make sure you manage your position after we hit noon. Probabilities drop. You want to make sure you're at least moving your stop losses to break even. You're taking some off the table if you're going to let it run to the green. Otherwise, you can just close your position before noon. But be sure to check us out at fractaleffects.com. We're live Tuesday, Wednesdays, and Thursdays, 10:30 to roughly 11:30, and onward towards noon if we're actually in a trade. Still hasn't quite hit it. Okay. Hope you guys have a great rest of the day, and we will see you tomorrow.